I think it's working. Yeah, I think it's working. We're going to have a look at some aspects, but needless to say, this is not enough. Okay, if you are really interested in the topic, there's so much material, there's so much literature on that. So I'll try to give you an overview of the concepts, maybe have a look at the materials you work with and how we can identify and work with these different dimensions in the materials. Yes. And then, of course, feel free to interrupt me, ask me questions, and express your concerns. Feel free. Okay. Lorraine, Carol, Isabella, and Fatima is not here anymore. Okay. All right. Who have a message? Okay, Isabella. All right. Good. So there we go. Let's think about these three dimensions: word level, sentence level, and discourse. Fatima's here now, I think. Fatima, I think she's connecting. Hello, Fatima. Well, I guess she's connecting. So I'll show you this. Let's start with this quote by Michael Lewis. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Michael Lewis. He is the one who has written the lexical approach. And then he says that a central element of language teaching is raising students' awareness of language, of course, and developing their ability to chunk language successfully. What comes to your mind when you say chunk language? Anything? What comes to you? You can tell me anything that pops up.
To use like in different ways, not like not in a mechanic way,
okay.
More natural.
And when it's more natural, do we use words in isolation or do we put words together? Yes, Carol, feel free. Yes.
What comes to my mind when we talk about chunking words and chunking something, especially in English in this topic, it's related to having something there is like a recipe, just like we have on the RTNs on Cel.Lep. I work with them very much. So I have 7 classes. I have 7 I don't know, maybe 35 classes per week. So
wow, that's a
yeah.
massive workload.
Yeah. So I am always working with the RTNs. And they are very helpful, and they always talk about especially in educação infantil, they talk about encourage your students to use the chunk, like how is the weather like today? It is
okay,
it comes to my mind.
No, that's perfect. That's perfect. So the idea of putting words together. Hold on, girls. There is 2 people have just connected, Giago and Nicole. Okay, we have an audience today. I'm happy. Okay, we have more people joining us. Okay, the idea of putting words together. Exactly that. And you're absolutely right, Carrie. You have this guidance, this orientation, these suggestions on the in the RTNs. Yes. So putting words together, not words in isolation, but words together. That's it. Fatima, are you there? Fatima, hello. Hello. Tiago, I can see Tiago. Hi, Tiago. Hello. And there is one more. Nicole, hello, Nicole, Tiago.
Good evening.
Fatima.
Sorry, I'm late.
That's fine. That's fine. Join us. All right. Okay, Nicole, I understand. All right. By the way, guys, just a parenthesis. Do you know each other? Thiago, Carol, Lorraine, Isabella, Fatima?
Unfortunately,
or not really?
Not
okay.
Really.
All right. Okay. I didn't know if you worked together or not. So you work in different schools, I assume.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, fair enough. I think, okay, Nicole, right. So I'm Jackson, by the way, for the ones who don't know me, and we're talking about word, sentence, and discourse level. Okay, we were just starting our discussion here. Okay, feel free to intervene, to interrupt, to speak your mind. Okay, it's an open discussion here, and then you can even have the chance to get to know each other a bit better. So, Carol, yes, you're absolutely right. And then let's have a look at some different layers of language. Yeah, we have this concept of different layers of language. The first one, let's start with word level. Yes, so even if we think about word level, it's not that simple as it seems. Because within word level, we could talk about different tiers of vocabulary. So you were talking about educação infantil, Carol. So, for example, when you talk about words, very common words like dog, cat, run, walk, these are very relatable words, very easy words to remember, and very high frequency words, let's say. They occur many times in many different contexts. So it's easier to remember that. Okay? Then you have a second tier of words which might occur in different content areas. Oh, I have just seen a mistake here. Content. I will correct this. Content areas with multiple meanings, yes? So measure, establish, contrast, for example, relative. They have different meanings in different reading situations. Reading, just an example, yeah? But of course, they can occur in speaking, in writing, listening. And then you have a different tier, which is a bit more technical or content specific. So they are not high frequency words. You're not going to see them, for example, in educação infantil. Yeah, of course not. Yes, maybe one or another word there when you were working with ensino médio, but with those longer texts for ENEM. Yeah, but anyway, they are not they're not high frequency. Okay, so if you think of these different tiers of vocabulary, you might think of different ways to work with them. Of course, when I have a word such as measure, how will I know, or how will the learner know the real meaning of measure?
Oh, was this a question? Like,
yeah, it's a real question. It's a real question.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll wait for people to say things because
I tend to be
very talkative.
Okay, Chuck, speak your mind. Speak your mind. All right.
Usually I take over, so sorry in advance.
Okay,
but
try to be objective.
Yeah,
okay.
I think that the use, because for example, if I am with Infantil 4, I would say, oh, we're talking about measure, and then we have 2 dolls or 2 puppets. Oh, let's measure. They don't even understand, but I just have a ruler or something. Let's measure, and they understand that measure in this case is the verb to measure, and we are using it to notice the differences in the sizes.
That's brilliant, Joe. That's amazing. Fatima. Okay, Fatima, I have just read your message. Okay, but I'm glad that you're here anyway. Good. So you were saying something very relevant, Thiago. You were talking about the dolls, something again relatable. And Carol has something to say. Carol, feel free.
I totally agree with Tiago because it was something I was going to say, and I waited for him to say it because I don't know, maybe sometimes I really talk too much and people might feel upset about it, and I don't want to cause a bad first impression on you. So that's it. But yes, I totally agree with you, Thiago. And I think it's the combination. We are talking about chunk, and so putting words together, and even they don't know what is the core of what we are talking about. Like in this case, measure, we have some further information that help them to know what we are talking about. So like the dolls and tall and big, small, short, long, and so on and on.
Okay, so we have a context. Yeah, we have a context. So maybe you could think about, instead of content specific, maybe context specific. Yes, so you will know what measure or establish or contrast, for example. Yeah, these are just some examples. What those words mean, considering the context. Yeah, so context is very important. So let's keep this idea in mind, even when we are working with words. Words, they are not isolated. They are within a bigger picture. They are within a bigger context. Yeah. And then, of course, depending on what your objective is, I mean, there are some possible activities to help learners remember words. You can work with personal dictionaries, you know, the traditional taking notes, word maps, you know, like one word that leads to another word, that leads to another word. Yeah, like word families, for example. And there is an interesting technique, I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, called the Freya cards. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
Yeah. This is quite interesting. Maybe not so popularly used, but look at that. It's a model. It's called a Freya model because that's the name of the creator. Yeah, Dorothy Freya, who actually designed that. So and look, this could be used for different levels, even for Isabella and Lorraine, even for the CAE, CPE levels. You know, when you're studying for exams, because you have the definition of a word, examples with that word, characteristics, and look at that, known examples. You know, this is quite peculiar. Why would I register known examples? What do you think?
In the case we use, for example, parents or cognates,
Bingo.
like what is a non-example of parent? My aunt, because people used to think that there's no difference between relatives and parents, for example.
Bingo. Exactly that. Exactly. No, these words like pretend. You know, so you have an example of how the word parent or the word pretend is appropriately used, and an example of how not to use that. Yes, so that's a non-example. Brilliant. Exactly that. So I do have this explanation if my slide moves because I got stuck. Okay, all right. Look at that. Why should we include known examples? Do I have a volunteer who could read this, please?
I can.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Yep. The purpose of including non-examples in the Freya model is to help students clarify their understanding of a term or concept by contrasting it with things that do not belong to that category. This can be especially useful in preventing misconceptions and promoting a more nuanced understanding. Non-examples help students distinguish between what the term represents and what it does not, reinforcing their comprehension of the concept.
Thank you, Lorraine. Thank you. So that's I mean, you have nailed it. Thiago's example is absolutely appropriate. So you could, I mean, it's a strategy you can adopt if you're working with a specific vocabulary range and want students to maybe retain a certain lexical set. So that's one strategy. There are so many different strategies. I'm just offering this one because it's probably something new that you can adopt with your students, and it's a way for them to organize, you know, this information. We were talking about words, just words. Then we move to sentences. Yes, and then there is a different focus on maybe grammar, on the structure, on forms and conventions. So words together in an organized way, expressing an intention, expressing an idea, right? Many possible activities, so many possible activities when you're focusing on sentences. Yeah, I'm just giving you some examples, considering we have time constraints here, but just some examples. So like building sentences, yeah, with games and activities. Sentences scramble. Does that ring a bell? Sentence scramble. What would that be?
The words in a sentence are mixed, and then the objective is to organize the sentence, the correct form.
Exactly. Then you can do that using an app like WordWall, for example. Are you familiar with WordWall? Yes. No.
No.
WordWall. No. WordWall. It's an app. It's a website. In fact, you can use that with many different templates, and one of the possibilities is exactly a sentence scramble. You know, so you can mass up the order so that students can organize them. It's fun, it's engaging, and it makes maybe the lesson more interesting, because when you're working, and we're going to see that when you are working with the activities from the book, the conventional activities from the book, many times you can gamify those activities. Yeah, you can make them, you can add an element of surprise to that activity and make that a little bit more gripping, a bit more engaging. Yes. For example, by devising this sentence scramble. Guys, I guess just a moment, please. I guess someone is trying to. No, Veruska is here. Okay, all right. Veruska, now that I have seen you, okay. All right, fair enough. So it's one of the possibilities that you have with that. So picture stories, yes. So short picture stories incorporating new vocabulary, always considering a context. Remember that we don't work with words in isolation, but always within a context. Have you ever tried this?
Yes.
Go ahead, Kara.
Normally, I always use something like picture stories with my students, even in educação infantil, and until, I don't know, maybe 5th grade, there is my last class, yes. So they are the older ones. So and it helped them. It helped because they help them because it's something more like, I don't know, because with me it works. Like you can fix it more just because you see this, they was related to something else, and the flashcards, I commonly use them very, 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 very much in every class.
You're going to talk about the flashcards as well, yes. Yeah, I guess, Carol, that's absolutely relevant. When you're using imagery in general, yes, stories, you're using different stimuli, right? Different stimuli. So there are different ways for you to help learners organize their ideas. So depending on the level, of course, depending on the level of challenge you want to offer, you might have the picture with a sentence starter, yes, or maybe you want to make this a bit more challenging, so no sentences, just the pictures, and they will talk about the pictures and maybe organize the stories that are, wow, there's a multitude of possibilities here depending on the level of challenge you want to offer. Yes, Thiago, go ahead.
I have a question regarding the meaning of picture stories, like because you've asked when have you ever used picture stories, and I was like, no, actually I haven't, because and then I started to think, well, I read them books. Does this count? Because then the books have pictures on them, but and then we read together and I show the pictures and everything. But what I was thinking was like a series of cards that students organize to make sense of it. And would books be picture stories or not? I think they not, right?
Well, if you think of the literal meaning, ipsis literis picture stories, they wouldn't have the full text. Yes, just the pictures. But that's what I said before. That depends on how much challenge you want to add. Because you could have, for instance, a picture with a sentence at the beginning of a sentence, as a prompt, for example, and then students could develop that sentence. Okay? Chuck, there are many possibilities. Or you tell the story first, and then you give them the pictures, and you ask them to organize the pictures according to what they have heard from you. And this is this is something I have read tried. It's very interesting because they need to pay attention to you. They really need to pay attention to you because they have a very clear purpose. And look, tell me if you agree with me or not. Okay, feel free. But students are much more engaged when they see a clear purpose, when they see a clear what for. So look, you need to listen to me very attentively. I'm going to tell you a story because later you're going to organize the pictures in order. Yes, then you are actually working with other skills, yeah, many other skills, not just sentence level. You're going beyond that. Does that make sense to you? Isabella, Nicole, Fatima, Lorraine, Carol, Thiago, have I forgotten anyone?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. But look, if you try these ideas later, tell me. I'd like to know and the results. Yeah, I can give you my email later. We can exchange ideas. It's something I really like to exchange ideas because maybe there's a point. Lorraine might have a group of learners with a very different profile from Thiago's group of learners. So activities will have different outcomes. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Sentence starters for conversation, for a survey, related to the pictures or not. That depends. There are so many possibilities here. Okay. I'm always worried about the time. And look, the flashcards that Carol has mentioned. And I have a question about the flashcards. Because, look, baby steps, educação infantil, baby steps. You have sun, clouds, sky. So if you look at that, the way it is here, would you say, okay, Chuck, would you like to comment on that? Feel free, comment on that, please.
Oh, it's just that it's really engaging, like when we start telling them the story because they kind of have heard of it, but not quite. So they are like, oh yeah, there's a straw man in it, right? And I was like, yeah, but they don't really know everything, so they get really curious about the outcome and everything. And it's pretty cool because there is no writing, so we have to make do with only my speaking and our storytelling abilities. And so I just remembered that.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. That's it. That's it. All right. Lorraine, Isabella, Nicole, and Fatima, feel free to intervene, okay, whenever you feel like doing so, right? Look, if you look at the flashcards, just the way they are here, star, flower, leaf, sky, would you say this is more towards word level or sentence level? The way it is here.
Words.
Yes. All right. But do we need to remain in the word level?
No.
And okay, so what could we do?
I guess we never do, right? But I'll let Carol say it. Sorry.
No problem. You started first, so I will let you continue. No problem. No problem.
You have raised your hand. You go. You go.
Go ahead, Carol. Go ahead, Carol. Let's go. Thiago's being such a gentleman. Come on.
Yes, thank you so much, Thiago. Okay,
Right, so
we are always talking. We are always speaking and working with so much words, and normally never just one. Like in the word context, like you were talking about earlier. So in this situation, I think we could really, I know, maybe uh, just go a little bit to the sentence level, just showing the kids on baby steps, educação infantil, like, oh, take a look. This sun is shining so much and it's yellow. Sometimes it looks a little bit white, it's hot. And you are going to increase the vocabulary of the children by adding so much words, and they are going to remember them at certain time, like when we see another unit that maybe works with hot and cold colors that they must have seen before and something like that.
right. So you're talking about offering a bigger context to help them remember a situation, maybe having a situational approach. Okay. I see your point, Fatima. I've read your message. We're going to try to approach that. I know it's challenging. Yeah, working with their young kids is quite a challenge. If we think about the kids' production, the kids' turn, would they produce just a word or a sentence?
They only produce words and usually nouns. So it's like, hoje eu tô happy. Or, and then I say, no, I am happy. Tá bom, eu tô, I am happy.
Okay.
And then they go.
But this is.
Just to contribute with the words, like the weather, songs are a must. So we sing what's the weather, and then we are going to tell them to say, oh, the weather is sunny, the weather is cloudy, or and then we change, like, oh, but cloudy, it's cloudy, but is it cold? Not necessarily. So they're like, oh, it's not cold, or não tá cold, eu tô com cold. And then we try to move that for the chunks of language, which is my main challenge. because they love nouns and they love learning and they understand the sentences. But when it's time for them to produce, they don't flick the switch, and this is what I try to do with them. Songs help a lot. Songs help a lot.
Yes, absolutely, because it makes, I mean, catchy tunes will help them retain information. Look, it's only natural that they will say, eu tô, I'm happy, for example. It's only natural. They are still, playing with the language. They are still discovering how language works. But look, if they actually produce, it's a star instead of just a star, or star, it's already amazing. Because, I mean, there is a lot of recasting, yes? Yeah, that's something you do. You do all the time. You teachers, you do all the time. Lots of recasting. So, star, é uma estrela. It's a star. It's a star. So, when they move from star to it's a star, they are already producing a sentence. They're moving a bit up this ladder, this layer from word to sentence. So, okay, they will say, é uma star. Fine, yes, it's true. It's a star. And then they will gradually get acquainted, they get more comfortable with that. But look, this is a process. It takes time. It takes a lot of repetition, a lot of patience, and enthusiasm from you, of course. And I know it's not easy. It's not so easy, especially depending on the number of kids you have. But this is a natural process. It's a natural movement until they get more acquainted and more familiar with that. Okay, Fatima, would you like to say something? Because you said it's a particular challenge. Fatima? No, don't think so. All right. Okay, Carol, go ahead, please.
I have never worked as a teacher, and nor as a teacher, neither with children before, so till August. So it was really funny, it was really cute, and it is until today that the kids always always create sentences like, hoje eu tô happy, and it's really funny. But I am always working with music, working with the flashcards, and I always show them. It isn't an exception. I always, in every class, I always show them the feelings flashcards as well as the weather flashcards. So yes, my students, my 4 years old students, and they always got it like, hoje tá cloudy. Hoje eu tô sleepy. But it's been a long time. It demands process. It's a long process, so it is. Yes, it's really slow, but it happens. Yeah,
it's step
it
by
happens.
step. It's step by step.
It happens because yes, eu tô com hungry.
Yes. Look, this is all natural.
Yes,
this is all natural. This is all natural. So I guess we have to be just extra careful not to embarrass them, not to expose them, because it's fine. This is fine.
Yeah.
They're trying. Yeah, they're playing with the language. Yes, and
hopefully. Yes, and I am so happy because they are now starting to answer my questions with I'm happy, or like no. Quando eu mostro, por exemplo, sorry, when I show them something like the weather flashcards, I'm so sorry guys, I don't know what's happening to me because
okay. Right.
And when I show them the flashcards about the weather, I show them always the frost one where it's snowing so much, and I always ask them, is it snowing? And they always answered like no. But today they answered like no, it's not. And I was so, oh my god.
So you see, when they say, no, it's not, that's evidence of a sense of a progress or achievement, yes? Guys, I'm just going to move on for us to have the opportunity to discuss other aspects, and then feel free to contribute as we move, because I don't think we have time to cover everything I've planned. But anyway, I guess we could maybe share your ideas in other situations as well, okay? For example, and then Thiago, you will please feel free to comment on this, and everyone else, yes? Look at what happens here in UK Unit 1. Yes, UK 3, yes, Unit 1. So I have questions, yeah? Questions, and look, speaking all about me, tell your friends, when do you have English class? When do you have Portuguese class? When do you, when? What might happen?
They might think, oh, Lorraine, did you want to?
Yes,
No,
I guess Lorraine would.
Yeah,
I felt
just,
Lorraine was going
You've
to say
unmuted,
something.
sorry.
no worries.
Go ahead,
It's
Lorraine,
just,
please.
I would say that they are gonna just answer the day of the week.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like that. Oh, Monday, that's it. The first reaction of them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Is it a problem?
No.
Not really. Okay, not really. Okay, Fatima, yes, that's relevant. That's really relevant. Not really a problem because there is communication, right?
Mhm.
There is communication. They are actually answering the question. If I think of real communication, yes. So, yes. So there is not. That's not really a problem. And they are responding to a sentence. So there is a sentence, there is a reply, communication is taking place. Can we propose that they expand?
Sure.
Yes, yes, we can. But just my suggestion here is just be very tactful about no Monday, no, this is wrong, you're just using a word, a very short sentence, this is sort of because it's not wrong, it's not inaccurate, but maybe you want something else. So not just Monday, but on Mondays and Wednesdays, for instance. So there is maybe you can paraphrase, you can reformulate their answers to help them move from word level to sentence level and ultimately to discourse, because that's what we want. We want to lead them to discourse. And many times they are very attached, let's say, to the word level. Yeah, they are very attached to the word. So my point here is their answer will not be inaccurate. It will not be inappropriate, provided that there's communication. But we can encourage them, you see, encourage them to move up this ladder. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Thiago, go ahead, Thiago. Something in there. Go ahead. Expand on that. They think when is an interrogative part, and then they use when to ask any question. Okay. Would you like to comment on this?
Oh no, I just type these quick sentences so we don't get carried away, but at the same time I can contribute.
Okay, feel free. Feel free. All right. But that's true. That's absolutely true. Yeah, that might happen. Yeah, a lot of things might happen. Yes, and that's maybe one of the joys of teaching. Yeah, it can be so unpredictable. Right. Yeah. Look. And then we want to. That's our goal, or bigger goal here. We want to lead them to discourse level. Yeah, so language as a whole, not just bits and pieces, not just words and sentences, but cohesive ideas and organized and connected. So the idea of discourse is the idea of flow. Yeah, there is a flow. So it's not just putting words and sentences together, but organizing them with cohesive devices and maintaining a flow. Does that make sense to all of you? Yeah. And there are many possibilities here when you're talking about discourse. Yeah. So many. You can have with more independent learners, maybe we can have group discussions, we can have storytelling, digital projects. You do have projects, yes? Show and tell, language portfolios, real world connections, well, so many things. Only, and I have a question. Are we going to do this only with more advanced levels? Only with ensino médio, for example?
No,
Why not?
because we can adapt to the age that we are working. For example, I last week I worked with my fourth grade about the places, their favorite places, and I suggested them, guys, you need to say what is the place, why it's your favorite, and where is it. So I gave to them some vocabularies that they can use and an example, and then they did their own answer. Sometimes they already have some vocabulary and then they can use that. So it was and then I put them to present to the class. They enjoy a lot. They make some researches. The other days they come and, teacher, I know a new word. Look, this is my text, and this is my favorite place, and they start to talk about.
Yes, provide that to offer the frames. We can give them language frames. You can offer opportunities for them to rehearse what they're going to produce. Then maybe they will get to this more autonomous. Remember the idea of the 3 A's, the awareness, appropriation, autonomy. So we can even think about that as well. When they reach this autonomy, this moment of autonomy, they will work not only with words and sentences, but towards discourse. There is a discourse competence being triggered there. Thiago, I'm not sure if I follow you when you say it's impossible. What exactly is impossible?
It's impossible not to.
Okay.
It's impossible not to use the sentence level because our main objective is to communicate, and we can't communicate if we only say car blue. And like, okay, car blue, what do you mean? When at least speaking from the perspective of educação infantil, kids are really smart regarding the usage of language as a tool. And when we're talking about United Kids, and the junior and the first grade and first steps, we're not even expected to have kids producing, but when they do, it's really rewarding. But we always try to scaffold the whole language, and they have to sort it out, and creating the situation. And I would say, like, meteu louco sometimes is really interesting with kids, because, for example, we have a puppet and the puppet only speaks in English, and they don't understand if you don't speak with them in Portuguese. Because there are moments in which you're saying something and they're like, teacher, fala em português.
Yes, yeah, yes,
And
yes.
and I'm like, why? Or por que você tá falando em inglês? And I'm like, we're communicating, like, or sometimes the way we correct in Portuguese, like, oh, picoca, no, pipoca. And they're like, when we're having the greetings card, eu quero, vou querer esse aqui. Eu quero, não, I want. Oh, I want. It's easier because they are already used to it, and they just make this flashy connection, and it's just natural. So naturalizing the speaking, naturalizing how we engage the language is really, it makes it really impossible to teach without using stories, using projects, and everything else.
Absolutely. And then we can go back to what Carol mentioned before. Yeah, we are always relying on a bigger context. Look, storytelling, show and tell. So they draw something based on a situation they relate to, and they're going to talk about it. You can make a video out of that, and of course, you will, as a teacher, will offer support and guidance using language frames and rehearsals until they can produce. They can have a neat, let's say, outcome. Yes, that's all natural. It's a process. Yeah. Well, and then when it comes to real world connections, just one point I'd like to add, because that could be really interesting. When you talk about popular culture, really, yes, like movie dialogue, song lyrics, social media posts. I mean, you can use TikTok, yeah, to demonstrate how students can relate what they've learned to real world language. Because, you know, a 15, I don't know how many seconds, a 30-second video from TikTok can potentially bring you samples of discourse. What's that? Let me see. Okay, all right. Is this a video? Is it a TikTok video?
No, it's my
YouTube.
students. Oh, sorry.
Okay, all right, okay. Your students say that. Okay.
We are so immersed in English that when we say something that is an English word, and they're like, what? And then I take that like short, yes, because it's a short pants. It's short pants. I am short, we are short, and then we carry on. It's really funny because like shorts is the most famous, but there are others. I just don't remember them now, but it's just because it's the actual theme, the thing.
Okay, well, fantastic example. So I mean, you go beyond the boundaries, yeah, of the classroom. You go beyond the boundaries of the material only. I mean, there are so many possibilities you can unfold with real world connections. Yeah. Guys, we don't have so much time. Oh my God, come on. I told you, Rusk, I need 90 minutes, not 60 minutes. Come on. Because I'd like to have a look at some other examples in the materials, you know, when you can see word, sentence, and discourse, or opportunities for us to do so. You know, opportunities. So think of this one. This is from Decoding 2, Unit 1. I mean, what students need to complete? You tell me, what do they need to complete the activity?
The gaps.
But okay, so what do they need to put there in the gaps?
A verb.
It's one word. Yeah, look, think of one word that can complete both sentences. My question is, okay, they need to complete using a word, but are we working with word level here?
No. I
Why
mean,
not?
yes,
No? Yes,
but
no?
it's not the, I think yes, but it's not the main, it's not the goal of the activity. It's like they need to have the word level, but they are working the sentence level.
Okay, because I mean they need one word.
Yeah.
But where is this word? Guys, I know if you can stay, I would be glad. I'm not sure if everyone can stay, but I would like to get to my final line here because there is a line of thought. But feel free. I know you have your appointments, okay? But if you can stay, I would be really glad. So they need one word, yes, but there are many sentences there. So they need to use the word within the context, as Carol pointed out many times. There's a word within the context. So they need to understand the sentence, right? It's not just memorizing a list of words in isolation, but always within a bigger picture. Right. And now look how interesting. Have fun. Have a picnic. What happens here?
The meaning of
Yes.
the word, it changes. It's the same
Yes.
word, but change.
Yes. Remember our quote, the very beginning?
The
What was the quote?
tier 2.
Before the
tier.
before the tier, what was it? Carol, you saw that in the RTNs. What's that?
Maybe the encouragement.
The chunking.
Something.
The chunking. Yes.
The
Chunks.
chunks, yes.
Chunks. Because have fun. Have fun. You learn have fun as a chunk. Yes. And then you can have a picnic. So it's not the word in isolation, but the word with other words, the matching with other words, with the neighboring words, with a specific meaning. And look, if you're really trying to equip students to communicate, the more chunking we can provide, the more tools they will have, instead of just isolated words. But well, this is decode. Do you work with decoding? Do you work with DC? No?
Just the one. DC
right. One. Thinking of this activity, okay, they have completed with the words, they have the sentence, but I want to make a bit more challenging. What can I do here? What could I potentially do to make it a bit more challenging?
Provoke them to create their own example.
Okay, what else?
Use different I don't know how to say it, but it's like the different pronouns, you know, like I play or he plays, or making the sentence a question.
So making questions. I mean, maybe if you make questions, they can ask each other. Yeah, you can promote interaction. Yes, Carol?
Maybe correcting the sentences that are not true for them. And it will vary for each of them. And it's really good because you practice the language and you also share with your friends, and you share with them and you know about them too.
Yes, perfect. You see how many possibilities. And if you want to stretch, I want to work with discourse, with flow of ideas. Yeah. An example. Guys, let's think of how we could continue this sentence. I have a picnic on Sundays, but, or I play online games in the afternoon, and, by adding but or and, see, what's that? I'm already connecting sentences. I'm starting to work towards discourse, starting, very gradually. It's a possibility. So, of course, we're talking about variations that you could adopt depending on the level of challenge you want to offer. Okay, because many times the activity, the way it is here, will be just the right size, just the right amount of challenge. But okay, maybe that was simple for students. Let's spice it up a little bit. Then you think about the possibilities. Always trying to promote communication, interaction, and this movement towards discourse. Okay. Does that make sense to you? Do you see this happening? Or maybe you say, oh, Jackson, come on, this is too far-fetched. No, that won't work. Really, be honest. Do you see this happening or not?
Yes.
Potentially, yeah? Potentially. Isabella, Fatima, feel free, okay, to contribute. Nicole, yes, whenever you want. Okay, fantastic. Right. And then look at this. I particularly like the downloading moments. Yeah, this is from Decoding 2, again in 3. What layers do you think you'll be working with here? Have a look.
Layers as in what? I'm sorry.
As in words, sentence, and discourse.
Oh. I think it's a tricky question because even though it's a dialogue, they're only exchanging short sentences. So they're not totally communicating. They're giving answers that may be complex and they're not objective. You don't simply answer them with yes or no, but even though we have to give a little bit more of detail, it's not necessarily discourse, but it's not just a sentence at the same time.
But it can be discourse, right, Chuck? Because look, I think of potentially, because look at this. Take turns asking questions about your idols. Suppose, Thiago, I'm working with you, okay, and you tell me you really like, I don't know who you like, Thiago, but you really like Linkin Park, okay? And then I would say, Thiago, I like Linkin Park, but I prefer System of a Down, because blah, 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 blah. But because, so I'm connecting sentences to create discourse, to create the flow. Of course, we're talking about within their level. Yes, guys, within their level. It's how much they can do. But if they're already adopting but, because, and, for instance, they are, building that discourse very gradually. Do you see that happening? And I really prefer System of a Down to Linkin Park, okay? Just for your information. Okay. That was a real example. All right. Okay. I'll try to be brief for us to conclude. And then the same here. Look, downloading, another example. This is from Decoding 4. So they have more tools already. What do you have here? 1, 2, and 3.
I'm sorry, I didn't get the question. Didn't
What do you
understand.
have here? What layers do we have here?
Oh,
The same as we talked before. It's a level sentence.
Mhm.
Then we can they can improve that, telling more than they are that the activity said. So, for example, when I got up this morning, my hair was a mess, but I started to comb my hair, and so they can, or they can say my hair was a mess because, and then continue the question.
Precisely. Because the way it is here, these are sentence prompts, yeah? They're starters. So again, adjust the level of challenge. For some learners, that can be a bit more challenging to think of when the bell rang, because maybe the bell rang, maybe it's not so relatable. Maybe the sentence is a bit, they can't really see that happening, you know? But when the teacher arrived, that might be easier for them to think of something. So completing the sentence would be the first step. Sentence, just sentence. They're completing the sentence level. But then when they share the information and compare to check if it's similar or different, what happens? They have a purpose. They have a what for. You need to compare because you need to check similarities and differences. Then there is an opportunity for more interaction and for the development of discourse. More flow, something more natural. You see, there is room for that. Of course, the teacher will be monitoring, will be offering guidance and assistance and support. Yes, maybe the language, the teacher can provide the language. Maybe they don't know that my hair was messy, for example, using Lorraine's example. Maybe they don't really know the word messy, for instance, so the teacher can provide. Yeah. But there is room for that. Do you see it or not? Honestly.
Clearly.
Feel free to say if you don't see it, okay, guys? Because I don't want to convince you of anything. I would like you to see this opportunity, this learning opportunity. But if you don't see it, we can talk further about that, right? And then for us to close, I'd like you to think of another quote by Michael Lewis. I really like Michael Lewis. He's the author of The Lexical Approach. This book is a game changer, honestly. Dealing with way more complex structures for them. We will have to be a bit more comfortable. Yes, Fatima. That's why we're not talking about complex connectors like despite, or whereas, or while, or something simple in the beginning, like and, but, because. And then, of course, gradually you can offer others. Yeah. But initially, if they can cope with but, because, and, that's already very good. And then, as you feel they are more, as and if you feel they are more comfortable, you can offer others while, yes, and many others as they progress. Okay, Fatima, have I approached your question, your statement, in fact? Yeah. And then look at this final quote here by Michael Lewis. A symphony, I love this. A symphony is not just notes, not just musical notes. Yeah? A painting is not just blobs of paint. Sometimes they are, but they're not just blobs of paint. Yeah. Language and communication are not only strings of words and sentences. You need to harmonize those words and sentences. You only have this force if words and sentences are harmonized. If they like domino pieces, if they make sense when they are together. If you actually develop flow, keyword, flow. Communication coincides with flow. Okay, I want to hear from you. Your final comments. Of course, guys, it was a very brief session. We could spend 6 months discussing this, but just my intention is to trigger some thoughts. They are drops to trigger some thoughts and maybe help you think about the material with a more holistic view. Okay, but I want to hear your final remarks. Lorraine, Carol, Thiago, Isabella, Fatima, Nicole, your final comments, please.
Seeing all of these things, what comes in my mind is that it's important to respect their levels. So we need to stimulate them, but not force them to do that things. It can be very natural. As soon as we use the correct strategies.
Very relevant. Thank you. Carol, Thiago?
I'm waiting.
Go ahead, Thiago. Go ahead.
Come on, go ahead. Yes.
I thought it was a really cool meeting, and I got some new ideas to work with my kids, but I also think that educação infantil is really specific about some things, and although as I said, I've gotten some ideas. I also think that trying to turn this eu tô hungry, and trying to help kids, bringing that, I think it's still a little challenging, and I understand the way we can start doing that, but I think that maybe in another meeting we will have something specifically designed for this type of group, because some situations we can adapt for the kids, but we won't be using in its entirety,
No, absolutely.
But sorry, go on.
Go ahead, please.
No, it's just that just to wrap it up, I really liked this approach, and especially the card, because I forgot the right term, but like the definition and what is an example and then a non-example.
The Freya cards.
Yeah, the Freya cards. Using it with kids, although we not necessarily will use it with written words. I can do that with images, like cold clothing. Cold clothing. What is it? What is not? This idea I thought was really cool, and I'll be using it in the future. I thought it was really insightful.
Amazing, Thiago. Yes, of course, yes. This session, I mean, it encompasses all the. My intention was to have like a bird's eye view, a little bit of educação infantil, a little bit Fundamental 1, Fundamental 2, and even ensino médio. Although I didn't offer you any examples of ensino médio, but I went up to Fundamental 2. Yes. Of course, educação infantil is a very specific realm. Yeah, it's a very specific context, and we need to adapt and customize a lot. Yeah, a lot, because kids have very specific needs. But you have just shared a brilliant idea, like adapting the card by using images. That's brilliant. Yeah, perfect. Yeah. Okay, Carol, I have here some, what's this? Is it Fatima? No. Fatima, Isabella, Fatima. Okay, yes, yeah, okay. Step by step, yeah, yes, that makes, thank you for that. Thank you for that. Yeah, it's a sunny day. Yeah, está sunny. When you move from está sunny to it's a sunny day, wow, this is sense of achievement. This is evidence of learning, really. Carol.
I'm sorry, my mom just entered my room and she just asked me if I was still on the meeting, but that's it. I think the dinner is getting ready in a few minutes, but that's okay. But my final comments will be, I think the same as Thiago. I really like this meeting. I found it really, I don't know, really worth it of watching and worth it of speaking with you, as well as I get to know some new ideas. I get to know talking with you, and I get to know you, and that's it. And I find it really funny. I forget to talk about it the moment I was talking about the I am hungry or eu tô hungry. And it's really funny because my 3 years old students normally understand what I am saying just in English, something like, and what color is it? But they answer in Portuguese. But it's a progress because they understand only in English. They they still answering in Portuguese, but they know what I am saying in English. So 3 years old, what color is this? Verde, but that's okay. They are still learning, and so are we, and that's it.
Yeah, fantastic. So from Michael Lewis, I'm going to quote the Backstreet Boys. It's step by step, literally step by step. Yes, exactly that.
Has Verusca taught you that? Because
She
I
loves
remembered.
she loves
I
the
remember.
Backstreet Boys. Yeah.
Okay, I was like, step by step. Where have I heard this before?
Verusca is a big fan of the Backstreet Boys, you know. Guys, these are the references that I have used to plan the session. So Michael Lewis, as I mentioned, and also this website, the 3 layers of language, quite interesting. Please, Verusca has shared a link, yes, for the attendance list. Make sure you complete the forms, yeah. And well, thank you for being here, for staying longer. Thank you so much, because I guess you have made the session so much more engaging, so much more gripping. You had I mean, extremely relevant contributions in the chat, and also by sharing while speaking. So thank you so much, all of you, all and each one of you. Yes, Thiago, I share this. I have the same feeling, and I hope to see you again soon. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye then.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Good.